Hey all, today we're going to talk some more about parallel lines, and this time how they interact with other lines that we call transversals. So a transversal is just a line. It's a name we give to a line that intersects two or more other lines. So in this picture we have line L and line M, the two black lines, and they're being intersected by the red line, and this red line we'll call T, and that's a transversal. It's a transversal because it's intersecting two lines. So when we have two lines that are intersected by a transversal, we have all these angles that are formed, and there's special types of angle pairs that we're going to talk about. So the first type is corresponding angle pairs. So if we look at angle 1 formed right here, and then we pretend like we're breaking this picture into two smaller pictures. So if we were to cut this transversal here, take a pair of scissors and cut it right there, and we have two pictures where we have four angles. The corresponding angles are the angles that are going to be in the same spot. 1 and angle 5 are in the same spot. They're kind of in the upper left of the picture. Angle 2 and angle 6 are in the same spot. They correspond. 7 and 3 correspond. And 8 and 4 correspond. So that's what I have written here. So those are the four pairs of corresponding angles that exist when I have two lines, L and M, that are intersected by transversal T. Another angle pair are alternate exterior angles. So when we have two lines and a transversal, we kind of naturally get an inside and an outside. And inside means interior, outside is exterior. So that means if I were to kind of close up this picture like this, I have angles in between the lines or inside on the interior, and then they have these four angles, 1, 2, 8, and 7. Those are on the exterior. So if we look at angle 1 and angle 7, those are two angles that are exterior, and they're on alternate sides of the transversal. So they're both exterior, and they're on alternate sides of the transversal, and they're made by L and T. One's made by M and T. So 1 and 7 are alternate exterior angles. 2 and 8 are alternate exterior angles. Consecutive angles are going to be angles that are interior. So again, in between the two lines, we're going to be looking at these four angles here. And if they're consecutive, that means they're going to be on the same side of the transversal. So 4 and 5 are considered consecutive angles. 3 and 6. So they have the characteristic that they're in between the two lines, so they're interior, and they're also on the same side of the transversal. We call those consecutive angles. Alternate interior angles, they're also going to be interior, so in between these two lines. So we're looking at these four angles again like we did in the last slide. Alternate means they're formed by the opposite lines. So one's formed by L, one will be formed by M, and they're on alternate sides of the transversal. So 4 and 6, 5 and 3. They kind of are like crisscross from each other. And again, we only have two pairs of those. So now when we say that L and M are parallel, and we're going to show that two lines are parallel by putting arrows on them. A lot of times you'll see in the textbook those arrows will be red. So L and M are parallel. If we go and look at the corresponding angles, so 1 and 5, 2 and 6, 3 and 7, 4 and 8. Those are our corresponding angles. We talked about those a few slides back. If these two lines are parallel like they are, then we know that all those pairs of angles are congruent. So 1 is congruent to 5, 2 is congruent to 6, 3 is congruent to 7, 4 is congruent to 8. So if we know these two lines are parallel and this red transversal intersects them, then we know all corresponding angle pairs are equal to each other. If we look at the alternate exterior angles, 1 and 7, 2 and 8, when these two lines are parallel, and I should have shown that, when L and M are parallel, then those pairs of angles are congruent as well. Our consecutive angles, if the two lines are parallel, 4 and 5, 3 and 6. If the lines are parallel, then those consecutive angles are supplementary to each other. And remember, way back from the earlier in the year, that means that they add up to 180. So angle 4 and angle 5 add to 180. Angle 3 and angle 6 add to 180. And the last angle pair, alternate interior angles. So again, 4 and 6, 3 and 5. If we know that the two lines are parallel and transversal intersects them, then we know that the alternate interior angles are congruent. So we can use that in an example. We have two lines that are parallel, and I've showed that with the red arrows. And then we have this line that goes horizontally, that's a transversal. And we have all these angles formed, and we're told that this angle right here is 55 degrees. So since we know these two lines are parallel, we know that several other angles are the same size as this one, that's 55. So we can use our angle pair relationships to determine that. So 55 corresponds to angle 7. They're in the same place, bottom right corner of the intersections. So number 7 is 55 degrees. This one's an alternate interior angle with number 5. So they're the same. And then we have we can look at angle 7. Angle 7 and angle 1 are alternate exterior angles, so angle 1 must also be 55 degrees. So I want you to pause. I want you to first find the measure of angle 2. And I'll give you a hint that these two angles form a relationship that we saw earlier this year. Find angle 2 and then tell me how big angle 2 is and how big angle 4, 6, and 8 are. So angle 2 and angle 55, you probably figured out, are a linear pair. So that means they add to 180. And that means that angle 2 is 180 minus 55, so it's 125. So that also means that angle 8 is 125 because they're alternate interior angles. And angle 2 corresponds to angle 6, so that one's 125 as well. Angle 6 and angle 4 are alternate exterior angles, so that is 125 as well. Another thing you can notice is that 2 and 4 are vertical angles, so they're equal. 6 and 8 are vertical angles, so they're equal. So along with our special angle pairs that we talked about in this lesson, we also can still see vertical angles and linear pairs when we have these intersecting lines. So I have one you-do for you. I want you to tell me the measures of all these angles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then we'll talk about them in class.